So today I'm going to be ranking for you every Blu-ray that I watched for the first time in December 2022. Is there an audience on YouTube for a video this hodgepodge with so many different kinds of stuff? Westerns, horror movies, comedy, swashbucklers? I don't know. Let's find out. What's going on, everyone? My name is Daniel. This is the Cobwebs channel where we dust off old movies. And yeah, simple idea for this video. This is every Blu-ray that was sitting on my shelf that I picked off and watched for the first time last month. And I'm just going to be ranking them for you from worst to best. The ranking is partially going to be based on the quality of the Blu-ray release, but more so on the quality of the movie, because I'm more of a movies guy than a tech guy. And that's what I am more interested in. But I'll tell you a little bit about each release. They can be movies I've seen before. They just have to be Blu-rays that I had never actually popped in my player before. So that's basically the qualifications. I've got 8 Blu-rays here. Hey, don't look too close. Don't look too close. Supposed to be a surprise. And without further ado, let's just jump into it. First of all is Horizons West. So this is a Kino Lorber Blu-ray release of a 1952 Western. And I got really excited about this movie when I got it in my Kino Lorber sale haul that I showed you just a couple of weeks ago, because it's a Bud Boetticher Western and it's starring Robert Ryan, Julia Adams, and Rock Hudson, 3 people that I love. Bud Boetticher I love because of his collaborations, especially with Randolph Scott, movies like The Tall T and Ride Lonesome. I love those movies. And very excited to watch another Western from him. It's coming in at last place at number 8 because it was pretty underwhelming. Not a bad movie by any means, but a very simple movie. I think a little bit to its detriment. It's about Robert Ryan and Rock Hudson. They are 2 brothers. They come back from fighting the Civil War back home to their parents' ranch. Rock Hudson is excited to get back to a simple life, and Robert Ryan is not. He wants more. He wants more excitement. He wants more money more than anything. And it's kind of a rise and fall story of a guy who wants to get rich quick and wants to skip a lot of the moral steps that you might otherwise take to get there. So he gets involved in gambling, in big business, and a little bit of criminal dealings. It's a little bit of a Scorsese kind of, I want to be big, I want to be Wolf of Wall Street, something like that. And it doesn't go so well for him, as you can imagine. It's a lot like a noir, actually, just with Western clothing. And that sounded really good. It's just a very simplistic morality tale. Not a lot of complexity to it. And Robert Ryan's trajectory from pretty good guy to absolute monster was a little bit rushed and unbelievable, I thought. They tried to fit a ton of plot into this, and I thought that the characters did not have room to breathe to be really believable. I did really enjoy Robert Ryan in the movie. Julia Adams is kind of a femme fatale, which is not really her strong suit, but I thought she did a good job. Rock Hudson was disappointing to me. He's very much just a, aw shucks, I'm such a good guy kind of fella. Very simple, boring character. Rock Hudson is capable of so much more, as we all know. So this movie's coming in at last place. Not a bad movie, just kind of okay. At number 7 is the Silent Night, Deadly Night collection from Vestron. Putting these 3 movies all just as one place. Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, 4, and 5. Of course, I did a video all about this release just a couple of weeks ago. You're definitely going to see some stuff in here that I already talked about last month. I watched it, I talked about it, and now they're coming back up, so I won't spend too much time on these. But if you're someone that doesn't watch all my videos and just kind of wants a recap of what I've been doing over the last month, this video is going to be pretty good for you. Yeah, so I did enjoy all these movies. Trashy movies that I enjoyed. This franchise kind of takes the trajectory of the Halloween franchise, how they tried to make it an anthology franchise with Halloween 3. Wasn't successful, not because the movie wasn't good. I actually think the movie was good, but because audiences did not accept it. This is a much lower profile franchise that people didn't care about as much, so they were able to get away with it. Each story is drastically different. There's very little connecting these movies except for the holiday of Christmas. 3 is kind of a slow burn slasher. 4 is just this bonkers cult movie with bugs and Clint Howard. And then 5 is the most Christmassy of the bunch, about a toy maker who sets a bunch of toys off to go kill people. 5th one is my favorite, might be my favorite in the franchise, although I'm not totally sure about that. I enjoyed these movies. They're certainly not good enough to make it any higher on this list because I've got some real heavy hitters here, but I did enjoy these, and I got it for $11.99, so I recommend it. At number 6, the first Silent Night, Deadly Night. Just the average of those 3 versus this one. I had to put this one above it. Plus, I really appreciate this release because it has the uncut version of the movie as opposed to the theatrical. I watched the uncut, and you could tell which parts were originally cut out because the quality of the film changes because they had to use like video elements instead of film elements, I believe. And almost all of the goods, the gore and such, was cut out. So if you watch the uncut version, it's a slasher movie that delivers. If you want trashy elements that we traditionally associate with slasher films, sexuality, gore, things like that, it's a movie that delivers in pretty much every way. It's a really gross, trashy slasher film, and I definitely enjoyed it. I think it's pretty good. Here's a movie I've never talked about on the channel. This is Designing Woman. It's a Vincent Minnelli romantic comedy, and it's a Warner Archive Blu-ray. I'm trying to find the year, 1957. So it's a 50s rom-com with Gregory Peck and Lauren Bacall. Huge powerhouse star couple right there. Not couple in real life, of course, couple in the movie. Powerhouse stars. I was so happy to find a romantic comedy starring both of them. And I love Warner Archive Blu-rays, and I have some big plans to do some more Warner Archive coverage this month in January that I'm very excited for, so look out for that. But yeah, this is a romantic comedy where they're both like on vacation and they meet. Gregory Peck is super drunk. He doesn't remember anything about their first night meeting, so Lauren Bacall has to explain it to him, which is cute and funny. And they end up having this whirlwind romance. They get married very quickly. And the movie is not about will they, won't they get together. It's how can they make this relationship work, this marriage work, that they jumped into so fast without knowing very much about each other. And I really like that. That's different from romantic comedy. It's not about them getting together. It's can they stay together? Can they make this work? And I really appreciated that. Peck and Bacall are phenomenal. I can feel myself falling into a bit of a Lauren Bacall phase because I watched another movie with her last night. And I'm just loving her work so much because for a while I mostly paid attention to her Bogart movies, right? But she had so much and I enjoyed it. The worst element of the movie is there is a boxer character because Gregory Peck is a sports writer. So there's some athlete related stuff in this movie. It's a boxer character who they say is, I think they call him punchy, and it's basically he's been hit in the head so many times, he's become somewhat mentally handicapped. It's not treated respectfully, it's treated like a comedy relief. It's not funny, it's not cool. I didn't like that part of the movie, but I like pretty much everything else because she's involved in like fashion and theater, and he's involved in sports, crashing worlds. And also I really appreciate it. I'm a big theater guy, actually. I haven't done theater in a while, but I used to love participating in it. But I still love to go see theater. And I appreciated how the movie shows that some of his preconceived notions about how theater people are as like a sports guy are stupid and ridiculous. And Vincent Minnelli's a musical guy, obviously. So Vincent Minnelli, director of so many classic musicals. That was something I really enjoyed about the movie. So I really like Designing Women. Beautiful, colorful, romantic comedy. That's a 50s big, colorful rom-com. That's kind of my thing. I know that's not everybody's thing, but I love that kind of movie. So that was right up my alley. Another Western, Quantes. This is a Kino Lorber Western from 1957. And I talked about this a little bit in a haul video, but I hadn't actually watched it yet. Now that I watched it, it's fantastic. It's about a gang who just performed a heist, but we don't actually see the heist. It's all about the aftermath. And they're on the run. And I've mentioned on this channel before that I love Westerns that pull conflict from how difficult just every little thing was about living in the Old West. And this movie posits, what happens if you're on the run and your horses get tired? And you just have to stop. The horses can't keep going or they're going to die. So you just have to stop and rest for a while, maybe even days until your horses recover. And that's what this movie is about. They've got to stop in the town of Quantes, which is a ghost town that nobody is. So they're the only people there just waiting out for their horses to rest. Fred MacMurray is the star, but one thing I loved about it is he's not the gang leader. The gang leader is this other guy who's basically discount Lee J. Cobb. I can't remember his name, but he's so much like Lee J. Cobb, but he's not. And this gang leader is stupid. He's a jerk. He's mean and abusive. He's just a terrible guy and a terrible gang leader. But Fred MacMurray is a much stronger character, but he's a guy who's trying to leave a lot about his violent past behind. So he doesn't want to lead this gang. So he's not trying to take over, even though he probably should. And that made him a really interesting character. He's always just trying to be the slow and steady one to hold things together, but he has no interest in taking orders or taking over. Dorothy Malone is a co-star in this movie as the gang leader's girlfriend, who maybe her boyfriend, the gang leader, is such a horrible guy that there's some other guys in the gang that are kind of going for her. I'm becoming a big fan of Dorothy Malone recently. Watched a Dorothy Malone movie last night, and she's awesome in this movie. I just loved it. It was a great, tense, tight little Western thriller about a bunch of characters, different personalities clashing. And I really appreciated Fred MacMurray and Dorothy Malone in this movie. And I just really like the movie. I think it's really good. And according to Letterboxd, hardly anyone has seen it. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Okay, where are we at? We're at number 3, the top 3. Oscar drama, In the Heat of the Night, Best Picture winning movie from 1967, I believe. Yeah, a movie I've been aware of my entire life. And kind of in the back of my head, I thought I had seen it, but now that I was watching this Criterion Blu-ray I've had on my shelf for years, and I'm like, I don't think I actually had. So it's Sidney Poitier is starring as this homicide detective from Philadelphia, and he comes to this small town. He comes in this town, and a man had just been murdered, and he ends up kind of getting roped in by the police to help with the investigation. Here's something I really loved about this movie, is there are a lot of period piece films made today about the civil rights era of America and about the racial conflicts. And we can make our best guesses of what that time was like. We can read books. We can take a lot of information to learn about that time and try to portray it accurately. This movie was made in that time. When they made this movie, they were in the heart of that era, 1967, when this stuff is really going down. And I just really appreciated seeing the authenticity of the civil rights era, actually seeing it in this time period with a black leading actor. And there are not many movies like that. Movies about the civil rights era made in that time, starring a black leading man. That didn't get made a whole lot, near as much as it should have. And I really appreciated this as a historical document, but also just as a tight, effective murder mystery thriller. Sidney Poitier, just such an intense performance. Just a lot of anger, a lot of pathos, a lot of intelligence. The movie is very much about how he's the smartest person in this small southern town, but so many people won't accept that because they're a bunch of racists, frankly. And the way he handles them is just so interesting and so gratifying to watch. So I love Sidney Poitier in this movie. I really enjoyed the movie. I think the reveal of the mystery was a little bit underwhelming. I think it could have been a lot more interesting, but it was a great ride, and just Sidney Poitier is the man. He was awesome in this movie. So I really enjoyed it. Okay, this is a nostalgia pick, Beyond the Gates. This is a 2016 independent horror movie that I've seen many times before, but I finally picked up the Scream Factory Blu-ray and I watched it because I was actually a guest on the Schlock and Awe podcast and we talked about this movie. And I was actually really into independent horror around 2016, the few years around that era. And it was a very specific era in the genre on the independent scene with a lot of consistent actors in a lot of different movies. And this has a cast that were in a ton of indie horror movies at that time. Barbara Crampton from Stuart Gordon movies like From Beyond and Reanimator, some of my favorites. And it's about a haunted VHS board game. So it's very nostalgic about the 80s, but I don't think it's too stuck in nostalgia. It's an actually good story with actually good characters. It's very much about characters tackling the past and dealing with the past and processing the trauma of the past. In that way, it's very much about the past more than just like, hey, remember 80s stuff? It was cool. I don't know if any of that made sense. All that VHS stuff is just fun, and the gore and the spooky effects are fun. I think it's a really good horror movie. So I definitely recommend The Scream Factory of Jackson Stewart's Beyond the Gates. It's my second favorite movie that I watched on Blu-ray for the first time last month. But number one, I don't have to say too much. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I've talked about this movie ad nauseum over the past month. I did an unboxing of this Arrow release. I did a video on my top 10 Robin Hood movies, in which this definitely placed very high. So one of my favorite movies of all time. I was so glad to finally get the Arrow video 4K release. It looks gorgeous on 4K. The movie has never looked better. I lamented on my unboxing of this release that I always thought that the regular Blu-ray release that had been out for years of this movie was really subpar. Not a very good looking transfer. The colors looked off, and you could only get the extended cut. Here I could watch the theatrical cut in gorgeous 4K, and I was so happy to do that. So that's my number one. Of course, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, but that is every Blu-ray that I watched for the first time last month. If you like this, please let me know, because like I said, I have no idea if there's an audience for a video like this. I don't think I've ever seen a YouTuber do a video like this. So let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you think I should do it next month, because I'm undecided. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. Please give a subscribe if you like talk about old movies, and a like if you enjoyed this video. So thanks very much. I'll see you next time.